Rev up your engines! Crush on Taj says, what do you think of European high-end sports cars versus the Americans? Which is better? Audi RS6, Mercedes E60, BMW M5, or Corvette, Dodge Demon. Okay, we're talking about completely different worlds, right? The European sports cars are really fun to drive. They're fast, they cost a fortune to fix, and all of those, BMW, Mercedes, and Audis, end up as endless money pits as they age. The Corvette, the Dodge Demons, those things, right? They're not made all that well either. I did a thing on that new Corvette with the mid-engine, right? And when I was in Houston, and I said, hey, really fun to drive all this technology, but will it hold up? Now, it turns out they're not. The engines are eating valves. The transmissions are having problems. The wheels, which they made, instead of making them with forged wheels that are strong, they use cast wheels that are weaker and they're snapping off. The actual hubs are snapping right off because the spokes are breaking off. They can't take the horsepower, right? If I had to pick between one or the other, I'd probably say, what the heck, the BMW M5s are a lot of fun to drive, and the M5s keep their value because everybody likes them. I would get one of those. I never would myself. I wouldn't pay for them. They're too expensive. The quality in the American ones, it's been going for a long time. Plus, they're going to phase out a lot of the muscle cars because of bad gas mileage. They'll probably end up electrifying them all. Hugh Jasul says, do EV manufacturers have to list fuel efficiency, miles per kilowatt hour? A 9,000 Hummer can't be as efficient as a small car, plus the damage to roads and bridges. Well, they're supposed to give listings, but as we found out with Tesla, it's all lies. The figures they give are lies. They don't actually do that because electric vehicles are so dependent on other things. Like your car with gas or diesel, normally it'll get pretty much the same gas mileage when you're driving it, right? Not an EV. If it's really cold outside, the range goes, it's really hot, the range goes, you turn on the AC, you lose a ton of electricity. In an electric vehicle where you turn the AC on in a gasoline or diesel car, you're not even losing half a mile a gallon gas mileage. It doesn't do hardly anything at all. So they give listings, but a lot of it's total fantasy. Scotty, what's better, a Land Cruiser or a Land Rover? I think the Land Rovers look more snazzy. What do you think? Well, as they say, looks can be deceiving. Yes, the Land Rovers look cool, right? But they're English rolling piles of crap. They fall apart as they age. They're probably one of the biggest money pit cars in the world. I have a data system. It's called All Data, right? And it has technical service bulletins that shows what's wrong with vehicles. If I look up like a Toyota Camry or Corolla or something, there'll be, 8 or 10 TSPs. I look up a Land Rover, there will be literally hundreds of them to show the problems they have. If you value your money, get the Toyota. They're both gas hogs either way. It doesn't really matter, right? But if you value your money, get the Toyota. Don't get the British one, of course. They've been bought by Tata years ago, the Indian company. I guess it was the Indians' revenge on the British Empire buying Land Rover and Jaguar. They're terrible vehicles. Zap Roundover says, how much of a car's lifespan depends on the type of driving? Like slow old man versus fast teenage driving? Oh, of course it does. Entirely. And not just the type of driving, but where you drive. It's a perfect example. Highway driving in a car, straight like 65 miles an hour for 6-8 hours, that's equivalent to only 10% of the wear of stop and go traffic. So if you take a trip 3,000 miles across the country, that's like 300 miles stop and go traffic. It does not wear them out, right? You're not shifting gears, the wind's cooling the car, you're not using the brakes, it's not shifting because it's in top gear and it stays there. And of course, if you drive a car like a maniac, it's gonna wear out faster. Now, if it's a really old person, let's say you're gonna buy a car from somebody who died at an estate sale, if they didn't drive it enough, the engine is probably carboned up and it might run a little sluggish. And in that case, what you do is you go out and get a carbon cleaner machine hooked up, or buy some of Bernie's fuel injection carbon cleaner you pour in a gas tank and drive it around. That'll clean a lot of the carbon out. Roosdower says, what do you think of discount auto parts store brake pads and rotors like the gold or platinum models? Okay, they can work okay. They can be decent. The problem is there's so many different ones out there, you have no idea. Now, if you're talking about like Gold, AutoZone, the ones that they sell, those are pretty good, right? Better quality than the really cheap ones. The problem is it all depends on make and model. Like, let's say you have a BMW, right? You really can't use those discount pads if you don't like the noise. They'll stop okay, but they'll make a lot of noise. If you don't like noise, you want to use high quality pads. My advice to most people is if you want no noise and high quality, get the Akebono pads, Akebono. It's a Japanese company. They make it for lots of cars. I run them on my own. They're soft, they last long, and they don't make any noise. And you're going to pay more, but who the heck cares? So instead of $39, you pay, $49 or $52. That tiny amount of money for something that lasts 40, 50 50,000 miles or more, it's definitely worth it. Quadrajet said, Scotty, fuel injection cleaners. Should I be using them in my 2010 HHRSS with the turbo with 58,000 miles? I was told I shouldn't because a piece of carbon could come and damage the turbo. What do you think? You only got 58,000 miles. Now, most carbon cleaners, they're not going to break off giant chunks. They generally dissolve the stuff. And then as it goes through, it's so small or it's mixed with the liquid that it doesn't really matter. I've been using my friend's Bernie cleaner, ATS. Never had a problem with the turbo. You just pour it in a gas tank, drive it, no problems at all. So I really wouldn't worry about that with that little mileage. I'd use Bernie's cleaner if you got any kind of problems. And if you're curious, it's really easy to see if your engine's carboning up. Take out one spark plug, get a borescope. You can get borescopes for $20 on Amazon now. That'll hook up to your phone, right? And look inside. And if the engine's carboned up inside, then it's time to do some carbon cleaning. Linda McCall says, Scotty, will push-button gear controls on new vehicles hold up over time? Well, on good ones, they seem to. On the Japanese cars, they don't seem to break much. I've seen them break on Chryslers and Fords, yeah. Now, they did have push-button ones back in the day. Dodge had some where you pushed a button, and that actually pushed a rod that would put it into gear. It wasn't electronic. It was purely mechanical, and they were push-button mechanical ones. And they had a lot of problems with them breaking. But the modern cars, everything is electronic on them anyways. So the only difference between those and the other ones are the ones that don't have the push buttons have a cable that goes to the controller that's electronic that activates it instead of just pure electric the whole way. They're all partly electric anyway, so it really doesn't make all that much difference. If they're well made. Toyotas, Hondas, I don't see problems. But like I say, some of the American stuff's made like crap. I wouldn't want one. Ben Tovar says, my uncle gave me a 1989 Volvo 240. Is it a good car? Those were one of the most reliable cars ever made. I've seen those things with 1 million miles on them. Now, of course, it depends. Did your uncle take care of it? Is it leaking fluid all over the place? Does it have 1 million miles on it, right? They can last a really long time. The only problem you're going to find with that car is it's an 89. And Volvo used crappy plastic, so the doors, the inside plastic break off, plastic knobs fly off because it's cheap plastic and it breaks. But in terms of running, those were really solid made vehicles that can last a really long time. And you can still get parts for them. It's not like it's hard to get parts for the things. They sold a whole bunch of those things. Christian R says, what are your thoughts on a 2018 Acura TLX? Those are excellent made vehicles. That said, it is an Acura. That is a luxury Honda, right? Parts cost a fortune. And did the previous owner take care of it, and how many miles does it have on it? Anytime I tell somebody buying a used car, and especially a more expensive one like that, you got to find a guy like me, an excellent mechanic with very good scan tools. I use a $5,000 scan tool. Run a scan, spend about an hour analyzing the car, tell them where it's worth, if it's been in problems or not. Because it could have been wrecked, flooded, stolen, who knows? As a mechanic, I can tell you what shape it's in now. You cannot hide from modern computers on a car like that. It gives me transmission data, air conditioning data, engine data, braking data, electronics data, and I can tell you if it's a good car or not within an hour. Daniel says, what do you think of a 1994 Toyota Cressida? Well, we owned one. It was a great car. But it just fat wore out. Leather seats cracked. They had holes in them the size of Grand Canyon. I had to put real wool seat covers from New Zealand, and then it worked perfectly fine then, right? But the paint was fading off. They were great cars in their day, but now they're so old, generally, they're all worn out. And my wife still thinks it was the best car she ever had. She loved driving that car. She doesn't mind her 2002 Lexus ES300 either. I only paid $3,000 for that one at 65,000 miles. So I personally like that car better. It has much less problems, and it's holding up better than the Cressida did. Lionel Rivera says, Scotty, what's your opinion on Daewoo cars? Are they really that bad? The company pretty much has been gone out of business. Other people took it over. They were cheaper made Korean cars. They weren't horrible cars. They were little runabout cars to get you from here to there. The problem in the United States was people didn't know how to fix them. You couldn't get parts for them. Daewoo dealers were among the worst on the planet. They'd never fix anything right. They'd never do the warranty work for free. But they weren't totally horrible cars. You know, they're not like Fiat 500s or some pile of junk like that. But you can't get parts for them. Nobody wants to work on them. It doesn't make much sense to buy a car like that when there's so many better ones out there, you know? Get a Toyota Corolla, Honda Civic. They'll run circles around those things. Spidey guy says, what's with the new sunglasses? Okay, well, I was setting up the car talk and I couldn't find my regular sunglasses, so I found these that are sitting in my drawer. They're kind of like Elton John ones, right? This company gave me free ones years ago, and unfortunately, as you get old, your eyes get worse, and if I wear these, I won't be able to see anything. I have to wear my more modern ones in order to see anything, so that's what's with the sunglasses. That was in the picture in the front. If you didn't see it, here they are. They're kind of funkier, you know, kind of like Eraserhead type. Put the ones back on so I can see and answer questions. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.